Good morning, folks. Good morning, friends. This year, Master assigned it the topic that each teacher can pick. So I decided to introduce a very well-known, short, precise teaching of the Buddha. It's called the Heart Sutra. I think that a lot of us already heard about the name of the sutra. Are we familiar with the Heart Sutra? Anybody heard about that or never heard about it? You heard about it. Perfect, perfect. So today I'm going to do a little bit of the introduction on the Heart Sutra. Introduction of the Heart Sutra. Actually, the Heart Sutra is an English translation. It's Pali, shouldn't say that. Sanskrit title is called the Prajnaparamita Hadaya. Okay, so Prajnaparamita means the perfection of wisdom. So the Hadaya is the heart. It's the heart here. So personally, I don't know about you, okay? Personally, I think the heart is very beautiful. It's very colorful. So we have the kind heart. I believe that everybody here has a kind heart. And then we have the warm heart. Then whether we like it or not, or whether I mean a lot, I do mean it, I would like to call somebody my sweetheart. So I like Snoopy a lot. And from time to time, we'll have a cold heart. You're so young. Hopefully you don't have this, a broken heart. So heart is so vital and essential. Now, medically, the heart is vital because it's the central organ of the circulatory system, pumping the blood to deliver oxygen and nutrient to all the body parts, and also removing the waste that we don't need. So it is so essential or so important that we have a healthy heart, functioning heart. And the Heart Sutra is called the Heart Sutra because it's got the core teaching of the Buddha, such as the Four Noble Truths, the 12 links of depending origination, the key concepts of emptiness, the 5 aggregates, the Dhatu, and the ultimate state of our achievement or the mental state. So that is why we call it the Heart Sutra, because it's so important, it's so vital. All agree? See, yes.
Yes.
Okay. The Heart Sutra is a concise but influential text, a key part of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Prajnaparamita, remember, is called perfection of wisdom. And it is a section of the Mahayana Buddhist canon. So before we get into the details, we need to know a little bit of the historical background. And I choose the book 8,000 Lines, Perfection of Wisdom, written by Edward Holmes. He's a very well-known Buddhist scholar. So to start with, the early form, it comes into 8,000 verses in scrolls at the time. So it is considered the earliest scripture of the entire series of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. It actually, back a little bit, it actually originated in India. Even though it flourished in China, but originally from India. But it was, okay. It divided, Edward Combs divided it into the 4 stages. First one is the early stage, which begins with the 8,000 lines, and then then it comes to developmental stage. Then people add things to it. You know, the contents are the same, but explanations, you know, different comments on it. So from 8,000 lines to 18,000 to 25,000 to 100,000. And then during the Nagarjuna time, it's a very well populated, circulated in mainland China. And then it comes the 3rd stages, what we call the condensed stages. So they take out, you know, all these concepts and put it in one basket called the condensed teaching. And very well known 2 of the sutras, the Diamond Sutra and the Heart Sutra. And then the 4th stage will be the tantric stage. So we're saying that it came from India in the form of Sanskrit, then it has been translated into the Chinese language in 268 characters, including the title, and then at the end, the mantra. Mantra would be like gade, gade, bara, gade, bara, sang, gade, okay? But in Chinese, you know, actually, character by character. 268 characters contained the key teaching of the Buddha. Four Noble Truths, 12 Links, emptiness, Dhatu, 5 aggregates, you name it. So this is why it is called the Heart Sutra. And if we're talking about translation, we have to know who translated them. 2 well-known, not limited to the 2, but 2 well-known translators. One is Kumarajiva. He was in the Yaoqing kingdom, a small kingdom in the Wei Jin South North dynasty. Okay, just you hear about the Han dynasty, the Qing dynasty, the Ming dynasty. It's a period of time. At that time, China was divided into southern and northern. So, and then the next one is Xianzang. Let's go back and talk about Kumarajiva. Well, his life itself is very dramatic and interesting. It's just like if you ride on the screaming eagle, up and down, up and down, and up and down. Okay, his life is so interesting. If you're interested, well, I believe that Google has some information about it. So there are some legendary stories. Examples like his disciple would say that if a person is not truthful, telling a lie, making up, the teachings, then they can swallow some of the needles, okay? And the needle would hurt. And they challenge Kumarajiva and say, well, you said that your translation is so accurate and correct, then you try to swallow the needles and see if you're telling a lie or not. And you know what he did? He just grabbed a whole bunch of needles and swallowed. And nothing happened. I guess it's passing down from the other end, probably. So that's just legendary stories. And that he was forced to have some offspring. Consider he was a monk. Okay. So he was forced to have some offspring with women by the emperor. So very many of the small stories about him. But at his dying bed, he told his followers and say that I devoted my entire life in translating the scripture of the teaching of the Buddha. I honestly doing the translation according to the Buddha's teaching. I did not make it up. If any of my translation is deviate from the teaching of the Buddha, when after I die, my entire body would turn into ashes when cremation. But if my translation is honest, in accordance with the Buddha's teaching, let my tongue remain after cremation. And guess what? In 2011, MAPA has a group, we have a group about 16 to 17 people have a pilgrimage to visit the mountains and temples in China. Cao Tang Temple in Xi'an. Okay, this is the Cao Tang Temple. Inside there is a small pavilion. Inside the pavilion, there is a pagoda. There holds the tongue of Kumarajiva. Personally, we were there. So we can kind of trust this translation, can we? His tongue is actually inside this small pagoda that we visit. Okay, so how about Xianzang? Xianzang's story, I guess most of us heard about it. He was a monk in Tang Dynasty, sneak out of the country, travel west all the way to India just to learn. Spent 17 years in India, in the University of Nalanda, to learn not only the language, the teaching. And he had a very good, very respectful teacher in India. And he also held a lot of debates that defeat, other scholars or other philosophers in India. 17 years. And if you haven't heard about Xianzang, you probably heard about the Monkey King. right? Monkey King, the author, actually based on the journal written by Xianzang after he came back to China, The Journey to the West. That is a journal written by Xianzang, and the story of Monkey King started from there. My mouse doesn't work, but I would like to point out that when we look at the picture of the Monkey King, okay, we have Wukong, the Monkey King. The name of the Monkey King is Wukong. Then with the pig there is called Wuneng or Zhu Bajie. And then the monk, the little monk in blue color, is called Wu Jing. Okay, Wu means realization. Kong means emptiness. So realization of emptiness is the Monkey King. So he's the smartest with wisdom, right? And then the little piggy there is called Wu Neng or Zhu Bajie. Ba means 8. Jie is sila or precept. So observation, the 8 precept, is very difficult. It takes effort and ability. So we have to realize, Wu is realized, Neng is capability. We have to realize that we have the capability to observe the 8 precepts. And then the last one is Wu Jing. Wu is realization. Again, Jing is purification. So how do we purify? We have to have a clear, clean, steady, sharp mind. So practice meditation. So here we have Sila, the 8 precept. We have Samadhi, the purification of the mind. And then we have the realization of emptiness, wisdom. So here we go, the 3 supreme or ultimate learning. Sila, Samadhi, Prajna or Panya. Okay. Moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. So sometimes from a very interesting story, we'll be able to look for something behind it. I read the book, okay, I read the book. But there are certain points that, I have reservations. It's not 100% to match the journey to the West. Again, we went to Xi'an in 2011 with 16, 17 people, and then we visited this temple called Xinjiao Shi. Inside there are 3 pagodas. The tall one in the middle holds Xianzang's relic. The one on the left has one of his great disciples called Yuan Ce. The one on the right is Kui Ji, 2 of his super great disciples. If you have an opportunity, in addition to go to Great Wall, to go to the Theravada soldiers, visit these temples. Very interesting, very interesting. And then during our trip, those pagodas were under renovation. They have to reinforce the building and all those. So they were totally closed to visitors. Fortunately, we sneak in. The monk was like, and then he opened the gate and then kind of sneak in and look at that. Very interesting trip. Okay, come back to the Prajnaparamita Hadaya, the Heart Sutra. There are certain definitions that we need to understand before we actually go into the content. One, what is prajna? What is paramita? What is emptiness? What are the meanings of them? So I kind of pulled the definition from various authors and their work. One is from Venerable Master Insun, his discourse on Prajnaparamita Sutras, his commentary on that from Bhikkhu Bodhi, from Dansaro Bhikkhu, and then again, Venerable Master Insun. For emptiness, I look at the sutra, the Majjhima Nikaya Sutra 121, and it's translated by Thanissaro Bhikkhu, and then the meaning of Shunyata and Nagarjuna, and one of the other definition we probably need to explore a little bit. It's called intrinsic nature. If we want to understand emptiness, we have to understand what is intrinsic nature. Okay, so prajna, what is prajna? It often translated into understanding, intelligent, wisdom. Okay, if we talk about understanding, what do we need to understand? So we need to understand the characteristic of existence, which also called the true nature of all phenomena. Then we have to understand what is emptiness. So the three characteristics of existence are dukkha, suffering, anicca, impermanent, and anatta, non-self. Those are the Buddhist terms, okay? Don't worry about that too much. Suffering is a good translation. It's a very direct translation, but sometimes we refer to dissatisfactory. So, are we satisfied with our current life? Are we satisfied with what we are having now? If you have a B, are you satisfied with that? Would you like to get an A? If you have a Honda, are you satisfied with your Honda? Or you want to get a Mercedes, if not Rolls Royce? So my younger son, after he graduated, he worked for Rolls Royce. So when he got the job, I asked him, do you have an employee discount? And he said, yeah, I do. But Mom, what do you need a jet engine for? So that Rolls Royce is not this Rolls Royce, okay? He worked for the jet engine Rolls Royce, actually. So how satisfied are we with our life? I definitely not satisfied because I'm getting old. I don't want to get old. I'm getting sick. I don't want to get sick. I want to sleep in this morning, but I have to come to that. So, just kidding, okay? Those are just small things that make our mind longing, desiring for something else, and we ignore what we have in our hands. We just overlook. Okay. So dukkha, dissatisfaction. Anicca, changing. And you said that I don't like changing. Why should I change? This is my personality. This is my character. This is my job. Oh, can we stop the changing? Can we stop it? Think about that. Anatta, non-self. This is another interesting thing to explore, but that's not what we are going to talk about. Today, we're going to focus on dukkha. Dukkha, we have to realize it exists around us, about us, within and without this human body and mind. So dukkha, mentioned it a few times in the Heart Sutra, it is the first noble truth of the Buddha's teaching. So let's explore a little bit. So the pain of physical alignments, injuries, and illness, it's suffering, it's dukkha. The emotional distress of grief, disappointment, and loss, it's dukkha. To separate from what we desire, what we like, it's dukkha. To face my boss day in, day out, is dukkha. Okay? Or to face somebody who tattletale on us every single moment is dukkha. Dukkha, dukkha, dukkha. Okay? To encounter with unpleasant thing is dukkha. To separate from pleasant things, that is dukkha. Okay? And unfortunately, each single one of us has to face being born, getting old, getting sick, and finally, you're too young to think about that, okay? But it's a direct experience of physical and emotional pain that on each stage of life, we face it. We cannot get rid of it, okay? So that is dukkha, and we give it a term called suffering of suffering, dukkha, dukkha. That's actually a Buddhist term. I didn't make that up. Okay. Okay, second one is called the suffering of change. I own this house. I don't want to let it go. It is my shelter. I like spicy food. I don't want to give it up. It's my habit. I am so well known. I have this famous name in my community. I don't want to give it up. Craving, 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 craving. I don't want anything to change. Not knowing that changing, you cannot stop it, unfortunately. So changing is inevitable. No matter how high we climb, one of these days, we have to come down a little bit. Is that a saying that what goes up must come down? Oh. That is changing, that is dukkha. I just bought a new car and it got whacked. Changing. And I don't want that. I don't even want the scratch on my car. So that is dukkha. That arises from clinging and clinging to impermanent things. Realize that they are impermanent. And then number 3 is called the all-pervasive suffering. Oh, this one is a little bit difficult to understand. All 1 and 2 is more obvious. This one is more subtle. And what is this from? It's called anxiety, dissatisfaction. You feel that something is missing, insecure, afraid or fear of the unknown, fear of losing something. And this all comes from not seeing the reality. And that is dukkha. So, do you like dukkha? No, right? Who likes dukkha? Who likes suffering? But suffering is not all that bad. It's not all that bad. It actually gives us a push to get out of it. Okay? May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings be liberated. Thank you all.